Aloha and welcome to Honolulu Cop for You, where we will discuss a current events topic and offer an opinion that just might get you to think a little deeper and perhaps consider a different viewpoint. I'm Gary Diaz, and the moniker Honolulu Cop began in 2002 with the production of my book Honolulu Cop: Reflections on a Career with HPD. Today's topic is Tulsi Gabbard for President. Normally, I make it a personal policy never to discuss politics with friends because you and I both know that people have strong opinions regarding their political views, and disagreements between friends on political views has the potential to affect relationships in a negative manner. But in the case of Tulsi Gabbard, who's running for president, I will make an exception because that topic is hot. Just for the record, I consider myself to be an independent voter. I will vote for the best candidate, whether he or she be Republican or Democrat. Now, I've been following Gabbard for several years, and as have other people, I've developed strong views about her career. One way to keep up with what Gabbard has been doing is to closely follow news reports from highly credible news sources, such as National Public Radio, CNN, NBC, CBS, the New York Times, the Associated Press, the Washington Post, and Reuters. To be honest, I don't follow Fox News as I find them to be particularly biased in their reporting, and their reporters have made absolutely no effort to even appear neutral. So all the credible news outlets have a whole bunch of news reports regarding Gabbard and her presidential candidacy. Let's look at some of the stories that have been circulated about Tulsi Gabbard. First, it is common knowledge and reiterated by the news that Gabbard defied the United States official position on Syria by traveling there and holding at least one meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Gabbard has publicly accused her nation and her government of pursuing a regime change in Syria. She is absolutely correct in that accusation. The United States has and should pursue a regime change in Syria. Assad, remember, is responsible for killing thousands of his own people by the horrific use of chemical weapons. Not once, but on multiple occasions. He has committed crimes against humanity without justification, and he has been censured by the United Nations. Assad is a cruel, violent dictator and holds little regard for human life. Syria, if you recall, is essentially a Russian puppet, and Vladimir Putin is a strong ally of Assad. Since then, Gabbard has publicly stated that she does not regret meeting with Assad. Second, news reports show that Gabbard has held strong anti-LGBT and anti-same-sex marriage views. She has since stated that she's outgrown those views and that she's already apologized for those views. Is it possible? Is it possible to outgrow the strong beliefs that you have cultivated and that your family has cultivated since you were a child? Or could there be another, not so obvious explanation for Gabbard's comments that she outgrew her homophobic views? I know many people who were strong anti-LGBT people years ago and who were very vocal about it back then, just like Tulsi was. The difference is that none of those people I know have outgrown their beliefs. They merely don't spout their hate in public anymore out of fear of being ostracized by people in the community. It was cool to chastise LGBT people many years ago. It was considered normal. Today, not so cool. In fact, today, being homophobic is actually considered deviant. One thing to keep in mind, and I'm sorry, but I have to say this, is that Tulsi is a politician who greatly desires advancement. Like some other politicians, Is it possible that Tulsi is simply telling people what she believes people expect to hear? Third, what the hell is up between Tulsi Gabbard and Mazie Hirono? From the news reports, it certainly appears that Gabbard was feeling her oats when she slammed Hirono. It is particularly troubling because Manny Hirozo is a well-respected member of the Senate, not only by people in Hawaii, but by national leaders in Washington. Gabbard, a relative newcomer to national politics, displayed a level of disrespect that you would only expect between the most hardcore Republicans and the most hardcore Democrats. Not by a congressional novice. Tulsi should take a page from Mazie's playbook on respect. HuffPost also recently reported that Tulsi Gabbard is naming herself as the Democrats' top anti-war candidate. But, they said, as a congresswoman, she has accepted donations worth more than $100,000 from the country's biggest producers of bombs, planes, and weapons systems. Doesn't that sound a little hypocritical? Of course, we can only hope that Tulsi apologized and returned that money. I don't know, however, whether Tulsi did return it or whether she kept it in her campaign war chest. In all fairness, per NBC News, there is one very big institution that supports Gabbard: the Russian propaganda network, in the form of 3 major Moscow-based websites affiliated with the Russian government. They are RT, the Russian-owned TV outlet, Sputnik News, a Russian radio outlet, and a blog that aligns with the Kremlin called Russia Insider. Those websites have issued their statements on American social media for all U.S. citizens to see, hear, or read. The United States Central Intelligence Agency has labeled those outlets as Russia's state-run propaganda machine. Did the CIA get it wrong? But in fairness, those same propaganda outlets have issued articles on other Democratic candidates. The difference is that the propaganda outlets were highly critical of those other Democratic candidates while calling Gabbard heroic, in a headline that read, "Heroic Tulsi Gabbard will run on her sensible foreign policy. Expect Democrats to squeal." They describe Gabbard as a rebel, a straight talker, and a heroic candidate who will shake up the establishment. This from NBC News. Gabbard's spokeswoman, Erica Suji, has said it is ridiculous to suggest that the Russians are supporting Gabbard. And Gabbard claims that NBC is trying to throw dirt on her candidacy. Excuse me? If what has already been disseminated by the Russians is not a huge sign of support for Gabbard's candidacy, someone has got to be living in a cave. It just so happens that those 3 Russian propaganda outlets were also involved in the dissemination of information in the 2016 presidential election. And their tactics are the same that they used back then. They are the very reason we have the Mueller investigation into Russian meddling into the 2016 presidential election going on today. NBC further cites in their report that Gabbard appeals to the Russians because her positions on various issues can be used to divide Democrats, as well as the fact that she is considered an outsider by her own political party. Also reported was a statement from former FBI agent Clint Watts, who said that Gabbard's position on several issues are attractive to the Russian propaganda machine and that Russia likes Gabbard's stance that the U.S. has interfered in foreign elections. This sure sounds like Russian meddling in our elections once again. There is one aspect of Gabbard's candidacy that is very interesting. Where will Gabbard find the millions and millions and millions of people across the 50 states to vote for her to not only win in those states, but to give her the required number of electoral votes to be elected president? It certainly appears that it's an impossible mountain for her to climb. Of another important note, Gabbard's past behavior and position on various issues will become a target for her opponents to exploit. She's going to face a public criticism that she hasn't faced in her past runs for office. In layman's terms, all the dirt is about to be displayed. And she can't go around every time someone throws dirt on her own face back into her campaign that they're trying to disrupt her campaign. That could be a boon to Hawaii's State Senator Kai Kahele, who has announced that he is opposing Gabbard for her seat in the U.S. House of Representatives in 2020. Kahele is a well-educated, well-spoken, well-respected, and a trusted up-and-coming Democrat who does not oppose his own party's values. It could very well be that Gabbard is facing a really tough challenge from Kahele, and it is quite a possibility that she will lose both races. There is a line of thought I'd like to share, and I hold a similar opinion to that line of thought. And that thought is that Gabbard truly understands that she realistically will not be elected President of the United States. Then why run? The suggestion is that Gabbard is actually looking for a bona fide presidential candidate to look to her as their vice president running mate. Think about it. She's young, and if she were the vice president, she could possibly make a real run at the presidency in 2028. Far-fetched, but a possibility nevertheless. All told, in spite of the flower lays, the wishes of aloha, and all the glitter from Gabbard's formal announcement on Saturday, February 2nd, 2019, her candidacy appears to have major issues that the people of Hawaii should consider with great caution. The message is simple and clear. Consider all the facts. Then, if you're voting Democratic, vote for the candidate who you feel will best lead our nation, whether it be Tulsi Gabbard or someone else. All right, our time limit is nearly up, and we've come to the final segment of our podcast, the quotes of the day. I've got some good ones for you. Quote, I think people involved in politics make good actors. Acting and politics involve fooling people. People like being fooled by actors. When you get right down to it, they probably like being fooled by politicians even more. A skillful actor will make you think, but a skillful politician will make you never have to think. Donna Brazile, American political strategist. Quote, in our age, there is no such thing as keeping out of politics. All issues are political issues, and politics itself is a mass of lies, evasions, folly, hatred, and schizophrenia. George Orwell, essayist, journalist, and critic. Quote, there are 7 things that will destroy us. Wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, religion without sacrifice, politics without principle, science without humanity, business without ethics. Mahatma Gandhi, lawyer, politician, and activist. That's it for today, folks. It was good to have you. Check back again for future episodes, and if you enjoyed this discussion, please subscribe to this site. It's free. Aloha.